Guess how many homes you can wire with high-speed internet for the low, low price of just $42 billion. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen.
I'm guessing 42.
It is, but this is an actual figure from Washington, so you know it's real, Bill. We've talked before about the $7.5 billion that President Biden's infrastructure law put on the table as an inducement to build that network of 500,000 EV charging stations. And at my last update, we've built 8. So yay, progress. Just, almost all of them left to go. But that, believe it or not, was a bargain compared to this new boondoggle. The same law also set aside $42.45 billion. Bill, to put this in terms you'll understand, that's 3 Ford-class nuclear-powered aircraft carriers to deploy high-speed internet to millions of Americans who currently can't get it. That mostly means rural folks who are usually the last to get anything new, like drug-resistant herpes or imaginary personal pronouns. Scott, so after these 2.5 years since this law was passed, the number of homes wired is 0. There's $42 billion in federal money just sitting there waiting to be grabbed. But according to FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr, the money comes with a lot of strings. Those include rate regulation, thumb on the scale for government-run networks, technology bias, union preferences, plus a whole host of others. So this money is just sitting there, Scott. Why wouldn't you get into this business and just take all that free money?
I think for the aforementioned reasons. And by the way, let's be clear: this money is pretending to sit there. There's no actual money, but they have said that there is this amount of money. So as soon as somebody starts to spend it, they will print it so that it can actually exist.
That's an important
and actually,
clarification.
By print, I don't really mean print, but they'll just generate the electrons that symbolize. That's right.
It's fiat money.
So it's not. The last time I remember us talking about this, and maybe I just imagined this, but a year or so ago, I remembered that part of this plan to get everybody on this high-speed internet, because you remember what happened to everybody once they got high-speed internet. They spent all their time going to like Smithsonian.org to get educated so that they would learn.
That's right.
And everybody signed up for the MIT computer courses that you can get for free online, and Harvard University offers courses, and Stanford does too. That's primarily what the people use the internet for, especially the high-speed kind, not for video streaming of questionable stuff. But in any case, the last time we talked about this, they were having a hard time getting anybody to take the subsidy that they were offering for places that already have the high-speed internet, but people who couldn't afford the package, so to speak. And they were literally sending evangelists out into the hinterlands, into the swamps and among the mobile home parks, trying to get people to sign up for this offer that the government had of giving you, I forget what it was like a $30 subsidy, or maybe it would bring your cable bill down to $30, something like that. It was a solution searching for a problem. And the same thing is happening here, except that, as you pointed out, Steve, once you lard this thing up with all kinds of restrictions, you basically say, look, we want to designate $42 billion to create a business that operates in a way that no business ever has successfully. And so who wants to sign up for that? It is hard enough to start a business already in this country, or to expand a business in this country, without having them say, look, the pre-qualification thing is that you will swear to operate this in a way that no business has ever done successfully. And they killed it in the crib.
Yeah, indeed. Bill, this is the part that really gets me. Forget billions and billions of dollars. And I had a reader at PJ Media do the math on this. For that $42.5 billion, you could wire up for I think about $2,000 a house, 80 million homes in the U.S. with high-speed internet. So we're talking about just way too much money for this. When especially for either $300 or $500, depending on where you live in the U.S., you can get Starlink high-speed internet up and running within a couple of hours after getting their dish in the mail. So I guess my question is, if we have to subsidize something, and we've got a Democrat in the White House, so I suppose we do, why don't we subsidize something that we can do right now on the cheap?
You don't have to get right-of-ways.
The bigger question, there's so much to unpack here, but the first question is, why do you have to have this at all? I mean, what you're basically saying is those poor farm people out there in the middle of nowhere can't afford what's internet service now these days, right? So their argument is that the lines don't exist, the infrastructure doesn't exist. Well, $42 billion, Steve, you got a big technical problem to crack. You've got to figure out how to get a cable into somebody's house, and that kind of thing hasn't been done it's not like we've only been doing that for a couple hundred years or so. You just have to just step back from these things and understand that that's just simply the label that they are putting on the latest form of billion-dollar scam. It's just plain theft. And as Scott pointed out, it's not like they took money that we mailed in an envelope that sits in a vault someplace and moved it from one place to another so that other people could take it out. Look, I just have to go back to where I always go when I start talking about these kind of numbers, Steve, and this kind of thing. Money is not money anymore. Money is not what we understand money to be anymore. It is no longer a medium of exchange for assets that exist in the real world. It is now something completely different. And if you're still thinking that this kind of thing is going to bust the budget, I got over thinking that when we passed the $20 trillion in debt mark. When I saw how much $20 trillion is in terms of hundreds of dollars bills, and by the way, just to give you an idea, if you were to take $100 bills and stack them into the form of the World Trade Center, it's something like 40 of those. It's something like that. You realize that we are not talking about money anymore, and the people who are controlling our lives and spending our now let me make one point crystal clear. The amount of money that we actually give to the government in taxes, that is real money, because we could be spending that on things like a new washer dryer, or we could go on vacation, or we could buy right. That's actual money on our end. But once it goes into the machine, it is just part of a fictional revenue stream that is maybe a third of the total amount of money that gets spent on an annual basis by this bloated monstrosity. And then when you talk about cutting the federal budget or spending less money, you find out that 2/3 of the $4 trillion, the $6,000 billion that we spend every year in this country, you find out that 2/3 of it cannot be touched, which means that this is not a government. It's an out of control locomotive. It's a runaway train. If you're saying that the elected representatives of the republic cannot not spend this money, then you no longer have a government. You've got a machine that is attended to by people that can't control the machine. They can only maintain the machine, and it continues to gather speed. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I know one thing for an absolute certainty, 100% certainty, and that is something like approaching $40,000 billion is not going to be repaid by $40,000 billion of excess taxes that are pitched into paying back this national debt.
Yeah. We'll have to inflate the debt away. We got a good start on that a couple of years ago.
There's no in order to inflate the debt away, you have to hold spending constant.
And we long ago.
Which, in the words of our Democratic friends, look, if we spend $5 trillion last year, and we spend $5 trillion the next year, right, and we keep doing that, then yes, you could inflate the debt away. But what they would say is we're cutting programs because the growth of the program is built into the budget. So if you hold a program at what it spent last year, you're not spending less on the program, but since it's designed to be spending more, these Democrat liars and thieves are saying you're cutting services for people. No, we're just holding them the same. No, it's supposed to be growing, so you're cutting them, and all the rest of this prestidigitation and nonsense.
Yeah. Math is hard, especially when you get into 9 or 12 zeros. Folks, there's something going on here that I find very interesting, because there's all this free money to be had, but nobody wants to build the EV charging stations, and we've got 8 out of 500,000, not just because of all the rules and regulations that come with them. And this is Bidenomics speaking, but there's no money to be made from them. The figure I saw was to line I-80 across Nevada every 50 miles with these EV charging stations, and this is in the law, would require for them to break even 34 cars a day on average per EV charging station. And the number they figure they will actually get is 0.3 per day. And that is somewhat less than the break-even point. But the point isn't to build the charging stations or to lay all this cable for high-speed internet that we don't actually need. The point is the controls that come with them, just to get people to take the money so they'll get snared on the government controls. There's an old expression you've probably heard, don't pay the Danegeld or you'll never be rid of the Dane. And that comes from Britain during the Viking days. The Danegeld was a special tax they would raise to pay off the Vikings, the Danes who would show up, and they would have a little offer for you, that you couldn't refuse. You could either pay up the Danegeld and they would leave you alone until next time, or you get your little village, raped and pillaged and all that fun stuff. So you pay the Danegeld, but they're going to keep coming back for more. With modern Washington, it's a little different. Once you take the Danegeld, once you take that free money from Washington, D.C., suddenly you're going to find you have to deal with union contracts. You find you're going to have to engage in work rules that involve DEI and all the rest. And it becomes impossible once you take the Danegeld to get rid of the Dane. That Dane is in Washington, D.C. That's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.